Greetings and welcome to our final special episode of Morrowind Modding Showcases for the very last batch of mods for Morrowind Modding Madness. As always, I'm your host, Guy, and today we have 4 creature and NPC mods that were released by each of the 4 modding teams for our final NPC and creature mod challenge. Each team had to build and release an NPC or creature mod of, some kind in just 1 week. And of course, each team did just that. There's, some rather curious creations on display here. As always, before we get started, you'll find download links for all the mods shown down in the video description below, along with a link to our online poll where you can vote for your favourite NPC and creature mods from Morrowind Modding Madness. And we want to get things started with Funny Farm Friends by Team Green Cow, aka AutoClock, EnclaveKiller, and SC Engineer 99. And this mod adds a rather curious and potentially ominous little platform to one of the, the small farms outside of Vivek. And you can actually see Vivek from here in the distance. This isn't too, terribly far away from the Siltstrider port. And anyway, this fellow here, as it turns out, has a number of strange and curious creatures to sale that he calls friendly monsters, and that's friendly in quotation marks, of course. There's about 7 of these creatures that you can buy, and they range in price from a mere 500 gold to 10,000 gold at the high point. And taking a look at the first one here, we have an armored scrib, which is actually, kind of cute looking. He has a horn and a troll skull, plus some, rather nice armor along his weak body. And next we're going to, buy a corpse crab, which is apparently a crab with a bunch of, well, as it turns out, scrib skulls and corpses on his back. Which, it does not look like these two are going to get along, does it? They really ought to have some kind of, warning for these guys. Corpse crabs apparently do not play well with scribs or, something like that. Still, this is a nice demonstration of their combat abilities, I guess, and it's a free fight that you get to watch. So, this could be a bit entertaining, and it could be worse. Next up, we have another sort of, armored creature, which is another, rather interesting looking fellow. He appears to have some sort of a Dwemer shield strapped to his back, and I think that might be a Dwemer chair on his head, which is, quite curious, I must say. And of course, here we have the Cliff Racer, a Cliff Racer companion made up out of, smaller Cliff Racers that'll follow you around, flying just slightly above you, making all sorts of, Cliff Racer sounds that'll, keep you paranoid on your adventures, but, presumably, it'll protect you from any other actual Cliff Racers that you come across. So, that's pretty handy. And taking a look at a few more of these random and strange-looking creatures, we have something that's called a Slithicus, or something like that. A sort of alien-inspired looking creature companion to follow you around, and, for some reason, this all, kind of reminds me a bit of one of Trainwiz's crazy Skyrim mods, Funny Followers, I believe it was called. That one was, pretty insane, and this reminds me a lot of that for some reason, which is, hardly surprising if you think about it, given how similar AutoClock's tastes are to Trainwiz. But anyway, we're checking out a few more of these disturbing creature companions here. And, of course, each, very different and unique looking, making for a rather curious motley crew to follow you around on your adventures through Morrowind. And just to give you guys a taste of how these creatures look in actual combat, here you can see them facing off against a small army of fisticuffed skeletons. And, they're all pretty strong and more than able of handling the typical threats that you might find out in the wilderness of Morrowind. Some with a variety of magical attacks for powerfully strong hits that'll, make sure that more often than not, you'll survive the encounter. And if you're looking for a bunch of disturbing companions to trail you around, this is, probably a good mod to check out. And next up, we're taking a look at Lustidrike companion character by Team Flying Guars, aka TheDrunkenMudcrab, and MementoMoritius. And this is kind of an interesting mod, really. It basically changes the existing Lustidrike character, a scamp that you can find in the Daedric Shrine of our Daedroth, who used to sell booze in vanilla Morrowind, into a full-fledged companion that you can get. Assuming you meet the requirements, of course, and there's a few different ways that you can convince him to join you. And, once you do convince him to be your companion, you'll find he has an absolute ton of unique dialogue and dialogue topics about a lot of different things, honestly. Most of which is actually related to Sheogorath to some extent. Since, he's originally from the Shivering Isles, but, he also has a fully detailed backstory, and also a few opinions about some of the places and people that you might meet. He doesn't, come alone, though. He also has his own little companion, an orc who thinks he's a Kagouti, and this is actually another character that was already in vanilla Morrowind. And he'll just, follow Lustidrike around as he follows you around, so, got a bit of a trail of companions going on. And these two will certainly, prove to be a nice addition during combat situations, as you can see here with this brief snippet of combat. And they'll both be, quite handy as you explore and clear dungeons around Morrowind. Though, of course, that's hardly everything that Lustidrike provides. He also comes with 3 quests, actually, which kind of sorts out when he runs out of ingredients for his famed booze brews, and asks you to gather more for him, which is, quite the shopping list, actually. But once you've gathered up all the ingredients he needs, he'll keep you from, getting thirsty with plenty of his homemade drinks, so they aren't actually worth anything, so you can't, just, gather them up and sell them. There's actually quite a lot of content in this mod. Lustidrike isn't just, a simple companion. Over the course of these quests, that'll take you from around Vardenfell. You also gain access to a number of different, Sheogorath-themed artifacts, with some, interesting effects on them. But, in order to avoid spoilers, we won't be showing off a whole lot of that here. Let's just say that Lustidrike is definitely worth your time to play with and, check out for yourself. But anyway, our next mod is none other than Dreaming Tears, a creature mod by Team Cutie Kagouti, aka R0, Digmen, and Povuholo. And this mod actually sorts out when you find an abandoned shack in between Ardvalorthi and Core, which only seems to have a bed and a dreamcatcher in it. And sleeping in this bed will actually teleport you to a realm of nightmares, starting you out on a ship that's, quickly sinking, and unless you act quickly, you'll surely drown, and, to make matters worse, there's a locked door on the way, and you'll need to find a key, but, doing so will actually blind you, forcing you to stumble through and try and beat the rising waters with decreased eyesight. And as it turns out, there's actually a good reason why this is called Dreaming Tears, because right off the bat, you're more or less, likely to drown, or come very close to it during this, sometimes literally, blind panic sort to this mod. And once you get outside though, you'll be facing, whole new tears, and really this mod is a collection of different, dream rooms, many of which are filled with these strange and otherworldly creatures, and apparently a large portion of this mod is influenced by Varamina, the Daedric Prince of Dreams and Nightmares. And in fact, should you complete the full mod without dying, you'll get one of her artifacts as a reward. But of course you have to go through these tentacled flying creatures first, with their giant eyeballs that you can, just see hanging around in the void between dreams here. And these are presumably her creations that you'll, have to fight through. And they are certainly quite interesting looking, to be sure. And each of these dreams presents a different challenge and fear that you have to face, such as the fear of drowning or the fear of falling. And there's maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 of these dreams in total. We're only looking at the first 3 here to avoid spoilers, but I have to say that some of the later dreams are really quite interesting, like having to hide and make your way through a maze while avoiding the watchful gaze of these giant eyeballed monstrosities, or trying to cross a dangerous chasm without falling. And this is really, quite a unique and different mod, but still very lore friendly and definitely worth playing. And finally, we have Andrano Retribution by Team Wretched Netch, aka Greatness7, MatthewTheBagel, and VvardenfellTribez. Now, this mod actually builds onto and expands Team Wretched Netch's last mod, their quest mod Andrano Ancestral Tomb Remastered, which is, very unusual and, only questionably meets the criteria of the competition. But, for the purpose of this showcase video, that's only a minor detail. And as such, it requires Andrano Ancestral Tomb Remastered in order to work. So that means you'll have to play through that mod first, including, going through the whole dungeon before you can sort this one. And assuming you pick the right quest path, you'll sort the new content after finishing the quest for the last mod with the member of the Andrano family in the Balmora Temple here. And this involves, well, the retribution phase of the quest line, so to speak, where you'll be tasked to track down and put an end to a cult of necromancers that has, tried to defile the Andrano Ancestral Tomb, and this will take you from one end of Vardenfell to the next. And of course you won't be doing this alone, you'll actually be working with a pair of alternators from the Auto of War, tasked with bringing these necromancers to justice. And this actually opens up a rather comical series of events, if I do say so myself. It's actually been described in some circles as an alternator buddy cop adventure, and I kind of have to agree with that assessment a bit, as you'll basically be going from town to town interrogating the locals about the, whereabouts of these necromancers, and you'll be playing the good cop to their bad cop, essentially. The senior alternator in particular seems to enjoy, threatening people and bashing heads, and he has a very rough and, veteran outlook to these criminals and, well, actually, I mean, citizens of Resdayn. And it's certainly a fun mod, a lot of which we will not be showing off here, naturally, due to, yes, you guessed it, spoilers and whatnot. But, if you enjoyed last week's Andrano Ancestral Tomb Remastered, you'll probably enjoy this one as well. though the team has warned that the two mods will likely be merged in the future, so that's something to keep in mind. You may just want to wait until they're actually, finished merging the two mods. But anyway, that wraps up this final episode of Morrowind Modding Madness Showcases. Tune in next week when we'll hopefully, finally have the winning results from the competition and unveil which of these 4 teams came ahead in the end. It's really pretty exciting stuff, honestly, so do please tune in. And in any event, we also have our top 10 Morrowind mods video coming out later this week. So until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.